Hi folks, in this video we're going to be thinking about how to approach the context question in the AQA Exploring Modern Texts paper. Now this is for the Exploring Cultures question and it's part B, and we've already looked at part A in a previous video, which is the extract question. Now this question's asking you to think about the novel as a whole, so you don't need to continue your argument from part A. If you want to, feel free to. If it's relevant, continue it. But it's more than likely that you'll want to start with a new point, presenting a new argument here. So you're thinking about the novel as a whole, and the important thing that they're checking for is that you're thinking about 1930s Southern America. So this is your chance to really show off your understanding, your research that you've done into the context. So we're thinking about the Scottsboro Boys, we're thinking about the Great Depression, we are thinking about trickle-down economics and the kind of massive gap between rich and poor. We're thinking about the Bonus Army and their quest for rights, really. And if you're not sure on any of that stuff, remember we've got all of our notes and all of our work from earlier on in the year on the blog, and I've got the address down there for those of you who aren't quite sure what it is. And it's this contextual knowledge that this is testing you on. It's testing you on whether you understand how the novel How to Kill a Mockingbird fits into where it's set and when it was written. So this question here, in the novel as a whole, how does Lee show what life was like in a small town such as Macomb in 1930 Southern America? I've picked out the keywords of life and small town. Now, when we're thinking about life, that allows us to think about the big ideas. It allows us to think about the themes of the novel. We can think about prejudice. We can think about injustice. And when we're thinking about small towns, for me, I think that lends itself towards thinking towards the small-mindedness of Southern America at this time, the Jim Crow attitudes and segregation that was in place. Now, for this question, I've picked a quotation that isn't going to obviously answer that in itself. I'm picking something that I'm going to need to analyse. I'm going to need to pick out the language to demonstrate these skills and to demonstrate the links to 1930 Southern America. So the words I've picked out from this quotation, which is a quotation I highlighted below, and we'll go through those in a second. But remember, when you're referencing the text, you're showing your understanding of the novel as a whole. So it's important when you're including your evidence that what you're doing is you're showing how it fits into the whole text. So in this case, we've got a quotation from Hecate, and he's speaking to Atticus following the death of Bob Ewell. And, of course, we know that Bob Ewell was killed by Boo Radley while Boo Radley was trying to save Scout in her ham costume. Now, normally, if we were doing one of our control assessment sections, we wouldn't focus that much on retelling the story. But with this, a concise summary of how it fits into the text is a really good way to show your understanding of the novel as a whole. Now, in this case, we've got the words boy and reason and responsible that I've picked out because I think they're words that I can analyse, that I can look at and think about, and I can draw out links to these issues of 1930 Southern America. Now, the word boy I've picked out because it's Harper Lee being deliberately emotive here. We know that Tom wasn't a boy, but it implies that he's vulnerable and it implies innocence. It implies that he's childlike almost in his innocence. But on the other hand, it's got connotations of slavery, which in turn links to our Jim Crow attitudes in 1930s America. Now, just picking out a word and analysing it isn't going to help. We need to be thinking about how this fits into the novel as a whole. So I've picked out this word reason because we've got Heck Tate saying that there's a black boy dead for no reason, but in fact we know, because we've read the book, that Tom was killed in police custody. He was trying to make a break for it after the legal system had failed him so drastically in Macomb. So this idea of there being a reason kind of implies that there's a disparity between law and justice. And I want to draw the links to the word responsible here as well, because what we've got is we've got the police, and Sheriff Tate is a representative of law enforcement in Macomb, and he's viewing it as the dead burying the dead here, with Bob Ewell being killed by Boo, but almost Boo being a vehicle of this justice. And let's put that there so we can have that as a reminder that Boo is a vehicle of justice here rather than a committer of a criminal act. Now, Sheriff Tate's a representative of the law, and this disparity between law and justice is highlighted by him because he feels that the dead are now burying the dead. So, having drawn these out, I've picked up on the Jim Crow laws, but what I really need to start thinking about, the kind of next step after picking out these and picking out the keywords and picking out the connotations of these words, is thinking, how can I link them to the context? So I've got this idea of slavery, I've got the Jim Crow laws and how it reflects 1930s Southern America. Then I've got this idea of Sheriff Tate and the difference between law and justice, and this is where I think I can most refer to details like the Scottsboro Boys, because of course the parallels between the two cases are so similar. And in the exam, you need to go through, you need to answer the question, you need to include some evidence, you need to explain it, you need to explore it, and you need to develop it. All of those skills we've gone through, remembering when you're developing, in this case, to include contextual information. And that's it.